Welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Our theme for 2025 is the future of work. Meaning is the new money. In a world shaped by rapid innovation and constant change, the pursuit of purpose and impact has never been more important. I'm Dr. John Dentico, your host, bringing over 30 years of experience in leadership, strategic thinking, and purpose-driven innovation. Here, we tackle the pressing challenges of our time, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the growing need for meaning in the workplace. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can ethically integrate AI to enhance decision-making and keep humanity at the heart of their organizations. Remember, amidst all the technological advancements, in the end, it's always about the people. This podcast is your resource for actionable tools, thought-provoking discussions, and inspiring stories. It's time to go beyond leadership development and focus on leadership impact, creating workplaces where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and meaning truly becomes the new currency. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, let's throttle up and dive into today's episode. Hello again and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. This is your host, Dr. John Dentico. With me today is Ken Miller. Ken Miller is a dynamic speaker, nonprofit strategist, and innovation leader whose work sits at the intersection of resilience, authenticity, and AI-driven transformation. As the founder of Ken Miller Speaks and executive behind Evolution, LLC, Ken has spent over 15 years helping nonprofits, leaders, and mission-driven organizations unlock funding, overcome adversity, and embrace the future of work. A certified fundraising executive with a deep background in nonprofit leadership and philanthropy, Ken has secured millions in grants, mentored rising professionals, and guided countless organizations towards sustainable growth. His consulting and training empower clients to integrate both ethical fundraising practices and cutting-edge technologies like AI and virtual assistant systems in their operations for long-term success. What sets Ken apart is not only his strategic acumen, but his deeply personal and relatable message. Having overcome significant personal challenges, he speaks powerfully on resilience, leadership under pressure, and the importance of self-esteem and mentorship in today's fast-moving world. Whether he's on stage or in a boardroom, Ken brings insight, innovation, and inspiration, empowering individuals and organizations to lead with clarity, adapt with confidence, and drive meaningful impact. And I am truly pleased and honored to have him here with me on the podcast this morning. Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Good morning, John, and thank you.
You're most welcome. Ken, as I have said to several guests this year, I'm adding a personal touch. I'd like to ask you to tell me about a little bit about you. Where did you grow up? And what were some of the influences in your, let's say, early life?
My early life, probably the number one influence is that I was a foster child. So I did my first 6 years as a foster child. I was put up for adoption at birth. And I was adopted when I was age 6 in New York, lived in the country. And then when I was 12 years old, I moved to Alaska. Alaska was very to my upbringing. I went to Alaska, I went to school there. I was a National Merit Scholar, you might call precocious. Ended up as a National Merit Scholar going to Dartmouth College, Ivy League, up in upper New Hampshire. And that was very formative for me. I went there young and matured quite a bit there. I got out, went into the corporate world for a few years, fell on some hard times due to some substance misuse, and ended up doing about 20 years homeless on the streets. So I was homeless on the streets. I am a 3-time convicted felon. I speak about that from the stage. But today I have over 20 years being clean and sober. I'm a business owner. I am a husband. I'm a grandfather, father, all the good things. And I give back to my communities. And then I also, again, run work companies. And I'm just happy to be on this podcast and happy the opportunity to maybe share some of my experience and some of the things that I see coming down the line.
God bless you, Ken. I mean,
Thank you.
that's God bless you. And I love great comeback stories. I think the world loves them. I have been honored and pleased and privileged to have some amazing guests on my show. I've had two convicted felons, in addition to you, who spent 2 years in jail each, got mixed up with drugs. They were high flyers. One was called the Whiz Kid of Wall Street when he was a very young man. He got mixed up with the wrong people and the drugs. Went to jail for 2 years. Each one of them I can think of, I can see their faces, told me that jail saved their lives. They came back out and really took on the challenge of reinventing their lives. So I'm truly pleased to have you here with me today. I mean that
Thank you.
so honestly, just great. And I appreciate all the suffering you've been through. And like I said, you're a winner, man. You're a winner. And I'm really happy for you. I'm happy for you, happy for your life. And just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep moving, keep motivating, keep moving on, man. It's great.
John, what I just want to say to that is be happy for society also, because unfortunately I affected a few people in situations. But again, and I just want to ditto one thing that you said. A prison, jail, whatever we may want to call it, incarceration, is an environment. And what you do with that environment is up to the individual. First 2 times I went to prison, I did not use that environment to be a value added to society or to myself. Where the third time I went in, I came in with a decision that I was going to do something different. It might have been not what I quote unquote wanted to do, but is what I needed to do for me and for my loved ones. And I made some decisions, did some things differently, and I came out, and this is the person that you see today. So thank you for sharing the other individuals that were incarcerated, because a lot of people think it's so negative. No, it was the best thing that happened to me, literally.
Yeah. I'm thinking of a woman named Naomi that I've already interviewed. She was 27 years old, 4 children, no money, and single mom. And today, 20 years later, she's probably the number one designer of hospital spaces, doctors' waiting rooms, any kind of medical facility. What an indomitable spirit. Her and Nikki Ballou. I just I have to stop and just talk about him. He was a refugee from Iran when the Shah fell, was evacuated to Germany and then eventually to Canada. And today he's a leading coach, business coach. Incredible. All the odds against him. And I will tell you this, and I get this from you too. I get this from you too, that all these wonderful people that I've interviewed, not once do I ever hear a whisper that you feel as though you were a victim, that you rose to the occasion and made your own way. Any thoughts on that?
The difficulty with being a victim, I could talk about this for a while, is that it takes away agency. It takes away the ability to get better because it is self-pitying. And it also says that there are external circumstances or powers. No matter what I do, I am doomed to be this individual that is doing less than in society or for myself and my loved ones. So I took away that victimology a long time ago. I is what I is, which is I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I'm just not in active addiction and or alcoholism. Okay, so that's cool. Now what do I do with that now that I've abstained from those chemicals? And then again, and I don't, so this is the word I use. I don't use antecedents as to why I was an alcoholic or a drug addict. It's not because of the way I grew up. It's not what my father did to me. It's not this experience or that experience. I is what I is physiologically, but now what do I do to overcome that and to grow from that? And then more importantly, how do I share with others my resilience, my comeback from the setback? And that's what I do. So yeah, you touched on a subject I could again speak for a while. The key thing is it allows me to have agency in my life and allows me to take responsibility and accountability for my circumstances and my ability to react to what I call the vicissitudes of life, the ups and downs of life. Life is life, and we will be confronted with things.
Right. I absolutely agree. It's that old adage, if you don't own it, you can't do anything about it. It's always somebody else's fault. And once you own it, now, as you say, you have agency, you can do something about it and with it. But I'll tell you what, let's move
Okay.
on to the crux of our podcast
Sure.
because that was a great discussion and I appreciate that so very much. I want to ask you this question. You're at the forefront of integrating AI into nonprofit and business operations. How can mission driven organizations leverage AI without losing their human touch?
They're actually two different worlds. So we're talking about mission-driven organizations. So let's talk about nonprofits. I am very involved in the nonprofit world. Been in for 15 years. To be a nonprofit, you have to have a mission. There has to be a community added or value to a community, whether it's environmental, healthcare, education, social services. We have that. So you are an organization that has a nonprofit status that has something that is of value to the community. Okay. So we get that part taken care of. Now we bring in AI. What can AI do to increase what you do as a value added to your community? Whether, again, education, arts and culture, environment, healthcare, whatever it may be. What it can do is make you more efficient. This is one thing, to be effective. Because one of the key things is you have to deliver services. Can we use AI to deliver services more effectively by being more efficient? It's number one. Can we use AI to be more effective in our fundraising? As a nonprofit, we usually don't have a cost of goods sold. We usually don't have an income stream that is profit, quote unquote, driven. Even though nonprofits have a profit, we just call it surplus. That's what's used in the nonprofit world. So what can we do to be more effective in the fundraising world and in the grant world? And it has been incredible. I'll just say incredible what we've been doing, my companies have been doing, but nonprofits have been doing to be more efficient, to be more effective. Because in the end, it's about serving. It's about serving the environment, serving healthcare, serving education, serving arts and culture, serving social services. It's about serving our community.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's a complex dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
How do people find my theme this year is the future work, meaning is the new money. The whole idea is that people with surrounded by this incredible technology. The question is, can people still find meaning from the things that they do? Can they still say, does it matter? Do I matter? Does the work of an individual truly matter? And it's interesting. What comes to mind at this moment is the quote from Jensen Huang at NVIDIA, who says, don't worry about AI taking your job. You have to worry about someone who understands how to use AI to take your job.
Yeah,
So I
100.
think that, and I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
and I think that says something about finding meaning, that you have a place. People still have a place in all of this, a big place. It's just that you can feel as though you're being washed over by an ocean wave, if you will, with all the technology. And you pop your head up from under the water and look around and go, wow, what is my role? What can I do in this world today? I'd love to get your reflection on that.
Two things. So number one, and this has been a area of concern or trouble within the nonprofit ecosphere, is that as nonprofits, we feel that we cannot be as business oriented as a for-profit company, okay? Because we're nonprofit. We just feel good. We love you. Hell, we want to help the environment, whatever it may be. But we're not going to be on the cutting edge of for-profit driven, because there's a competition within the for-profit world. So we're not going to act or work as a for-profit company, okay? And I'm talking about techniques, skill sets, areas of improvement too, so that we can have a better bottom line. a better surplus so we can provide more services. That has been a struggle probably since the origin of nonprofits. So we see that, and we're seeing that the same thing with the AI. There's been a pushback in the nonprofit world about AI, artificial intelligence, because it's not human-centered, quote unquote, it's not human-centered. But instead of looking at it as a technology that can make you more efficient or more effective, why don't we look at it as a process that will allow you to free up time and capacity so you can do more within your community that you're trying to affect as a nonprofit. So there's been a big struggle there in that area with the nonprofit world and AI. The other thing is, and this is something that we who are in the AI world have to understand and be comfortable with. There are many people who are lazy. I'll just put the word out there. I'm a very frank person, and they don't want to learn AI. They don't want to learn it. They're very comfortable in status quo. They're very comfortable in their position, but just as that gentleman said, you're either going to have to learn at least the fundamentals of AI. At least learn how to do a prompt in a large language model, whatever one you choose to use. At least learn that, okay? At least be comfortable going online and doing some type of prompt or query. But if you do not, it's going to cause harm to your capacity to provide and to be able to do the best job possible, whether you're for-profit or not for profit. I'm truly a believer in that. And so it's up to people like us to share with people that it is not anti the human touch. What it's allowed me to do is touch more people. Literally, it has freed up time for me to be able to be on podcasts, to be able to speak from the stage, to be able to deal with other donors or funders or grantors in one of my companies. That's what it's done for me. I have saved so much time. I can tell you, but I've saved so much time, me and my company and my staff and my employees, that we have the ability to do more to give back.
I agree. It's incredible. I've only been in about 3 months. And just in those 3 months, I've gotten whiplash from some of the things that I've engaged it with and prompted and said, can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah, no problem. Here it is. And some of the outputs have just been stellar, just absolutely stellar. Now, again, as I mentioned to you earlier, I've uploaded a number of documents and things that I've done in the past, including my book. And so it has a real sense for who I am, my work, that kind of thing. So it's picking from that and then giving me recommendations, pathways, I like to call them, pathways for me to look to and say, you might think of this, or you might think of that. How about what do you think of this pathway? And then working individually with each one of those to refine them. So I'm with you 150%. It's absolutely great. Let me ask you the next question, if I can.
Sure.
You talk about the power of truth and authenticity in leadership. Why is that especially important in the nonprofit world? And how can leaders, in your opinion, cultivate that in their teams?
Great question. So give me 1 second to think on that. So my fundamental of everything I speak about is about truth. Now, truth is an interpretation from the individual. I understand that. But there also are facts. There also are inviolable truths to the world. There's a thing called, if you jump off a bridge, there's a thing called gravity. You may believe you can fly, but you can't. Okay? Truth is the underpinning to, I believe, great leadership is one of them. But there's a real important part. So I always talk about, I teach and I've taught for years on fundraising. And I said, there's only 2 things in fundraising: content and delivery. Content and delivery. So as a leader, I have a content. This is my content that I want to explain to the team, the staff, the community, whoever it may be. But I also have to deliver it. Okay. So I have a truth, but I have to share that so they have the vision They have the goal, they have the aspiration. We can call it the mission statement, we can call it the company philosophy, whatever we may. But I have to instill that through communication, whether it's verbal, whether it's through email, whether it's whatever way we do a company meeting. And the importance is that I am grounded in truth. The other thing is, it's just so important. And one of the things, I was just speaking yesterday in another city, and I was talking about setting a premise that then we can operate off of. And what I mean by that, setting what I believe as the leader of this company is the truth or the facts. And then allowing people, and this is one of the keys, I think, of great leadership, is not to have a lot of secrets, if not any, within HR constraints, legal restraints. But to say, this is where we're at, good, bad, or indifferent, but this is the truth. So now that we have that out, now we can make decisions based on everybody being on the same page, knowing where we are at. And so even nonprofit, for-profit, family, all worlds, I believe, need to be grounded in truth. Because what is the opposite? What is the antithesis of that? And a big one on this, the power of the secret, and how dangerous the power of the secret is. Because you're operating on a certain amount of information, and they're operating on information that is not the same, because you have the secret. You have that power of that secret. We can talk about as an individual, we can talk about our past, but we have these secrets that I think, at least been my experience, hold me back. And when I let go all my secrets, I have no secrets. Literally, John, I have no secrets. Okay. I speak from the stage about things that you wouldn't believe an individual could speak to. I'd speak to it because I took away that power to shame me, to make me feel less than.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that. I think people don't understand once that's out in the public, in many respects, then you bring such a presence, you bring truth, you bring that ability that it almost, what's the word I'm looking for? It can be intimidating many times for people who have secrets, who are keeping secrets. It's amazing. I can remember, I remember years ago, I was at a dinner with some people. A friend of mine invited me to go to dinner. And I was going through a rough time during that, a really rough time. And just very down about a lot of things. I was actually working on my doctorate at the time. And I was always having, it was a nice time at this dinner. And some person asked me, tell me some of the things you do, or what are the things? And I said, I journal a lot. At that time, I was doing a lot of journaling, really trying to get it out, as they say. As my friend once said, it's emotional vomiting. You're just getting rid of all the poison, in a manner of speaking. And it was a woman, and she was just aghast at this. She said, I could never write down what I truly believe or what I truly think. So here is a person who, in fact, must have had, I'm just making a guess here, a lot of secrets that they never wanted to be forthcoming about. And I thought it was sad to me at that time.
It's very sad.
It's very sad. So I'd love to get your reflection on that.
Oh, I love that. I talked about it yesterday. The difficulty and the reasons why we have secrets is if you knew my truth, you wouldn't like me. If you knew my truth, you wouldn't associate with me. If you knew my truth, you wouldn't do business with me. If you knew my truth, you wouldn't remain married to me or be my partner. If you knew my truth. So what we're looking for is external validation of who I am, but you don't get to know the whole me. My wife knows every single thing I've ever done. Talk about negative or bad. Remember, I'm a 3-time convicted felon, so I've done some bad. Okay? But I can speak about it from the stage. And because I was worried about people liking me or people wanting to interact with me or people in the business sense. And then what I found out is that people respect and even trust me more because I put it all out there. I put it all out there. This is who you get. Okay. Even on this conversation, I am who I am. And my thing was, I've been on a few podcasts and I'm if you want to cut it up, fine. Or you don't want to put me on, fine. I'm going to speak really well tonight. Okay. No
Yeah.
matter what, because at least I'm true to self. I had to do that. Yeah. I 100% you understand why people do it. And so let me just go back to one thing you said. What I have found out is that when I speak truth from the stage or an individual, or when I mentor young men all over the country, what it allows people to do is get a confirmation bias that it's all right to share these things that have been eating me up from inside, the things that make me shame-based, the things that make me feel less than, the things that diminish my self-esteem. Okay. And I always say, start off with one person and you can trust me. I have heard in the programs, the anonymous program, I've done a lot of 4 steps, we call them. Okay. Moral inventories. I have heard literally everything. I'm talking about murder. I've talked to people who murder. I was in prison and we're doing 4 steps. So anyway, I've heard everything and it's all stays with me. I have never belayed a trust. Never will. No need to. Why would I? How does that gain me anything by gossiping or telling on another person something that they trusted me with? And we could speak on that for a while, but a lot of this comes down to trust.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Trust is the fuel that runs the engine of every organization, every interpersonal relationship. I think the other thing too is when people have secrets, or let me say it a different way. When you're that vulnerable, when you're vulnerable and you're open, what happens is it tells people it's okay not to be perfect.
Yes.
And we're driven with a lot of that perfection. It has to be, there's this perfection cloud, I think, that hangs over a lot of people. I wasn't perfect today. I wasn't great today. Well, that's okay. It happens. One of the greatest little one-liners I've ever heard is don't pursue perfection, pursue excellence. Try to be excellent. Try to do what you can do every day. But you're going to have bad days. I had a bad day yesterday, let me tell you, on podcasting, and it was just one of those days. And I've been blessed because most every guest has been fantastic and great, and I so appreciate it so very much. And but they're okay, so fine, let's move on. That kind of thing. The other thing that I talk about many times is anytime I've been vulnerable, where I've walked up and said, I made a mistake here. I really screwed this thing up and I'm going to go fix it. But I have to admit, this is on me. It's not on anybody else. I own it. I own it because I can do something about it. So I think that's also important. I think it strikes to the heart of what you're saying. Be honest, be open, be vulnerable. And that brings people to you, I think. It brings people to you because it says you don't have to be perfect. You can have flaws. I'd love to get your ideas on that.
Or you said a couple of things that just resonated with me. So I've been in the business world since 1984. And of course, I took some years off to be on the streets, but I'm still in business. I've told people I've been in sales my whole life, legal and illegal, but I've been in sales my whole life. And I'm a very good salesman. So I've gone through all the different books that were big at that time. And there was a whole time, there was this thing called Good to Great, like Collins, big movement. And I realized it took me years. I'm 62 now as I matured. I don't want to be great. I don't want to be great. I want to be good. I don't want to be great. And I literally teach people, you don't need to be great. Be good, because the capacity in time, money, energy to be great is beyond your capacity. And I learned this from a gentleman named Lyle McDonald, and he worked with Olympic athletes. And he said to get to 90% of the best takes about this amount of time. To get that last 3% to get to the Olympic level will take years. And the amount of time and capacity of your resources is beyond that most people are willing to do. There are. I'm very good at what I do. Very good. I'm a very good speaker. I'm a very good fundraiser. I'm a very good, I believe, business owner. My results show for themselves. But I don't want to be great anymore. And when I work with the young men, I work with a lot of young men I mentor, I said, hey, let's be really good, or let's be good at what we do, but let's be great as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a mentor, whatever it is. Let's be really good or great in that. So let's go in some depth, but let's not worry about that last 5 to 10% or being the best. I want to be the best. I've had people say, Ken, you're the best in this. I'm like, no, I'm not. But believe me, I know people who are better in major gift donors. Yeah, I know people. I'm good at it. I'm good on annual campaigns. I can do direct mail in my sleep and teach that from stage nationally. I know people much better than that, but I'm very good at it. And you just need to get good at it and the results will be there. Remember, we have the Pareto principle, 20-80 rule. Okay. 20%. We got to get to that point where we're emphasizing that 20, which is going to give us 80% of that result. Don't worry about getting 99% of the best direct mail piece you can do. Okay.
Right. No, that is a profound philosophy and a profound observation. Yeah. If you're good and you do good every day, man, it's great.
One more thing on that. And I don't want to interrupt you because this, I think, is.
No, go ahead. Take
it.
The
difficulty is when you want to be the best or great, you have a tendency, what you talked about, to beat yourself up because you're not the best. And even if you are the best, you will not believe it. You won't believe. I say this all the time. I can tell more about your self-esteem by how you take a compliment. By how you take a compliment, I can tell more about your self-esteem. And people with low self-esteem or damaged self-esteem or pseudo self-esteem cannot take a compliment. Cannot. They'll defer it. They'll deprecate it. They'll denigrate it. They'll say, no, not me, that was no. It was you. This is what I believe. You did a wonderful job. Now, man, I messed up here because I'm trying, because in the end, what I believe is if I'm perfect, therefore I will not have pain. And I hate to tell people, but life is about suffering. I'm not the one original about that, but I truly believe that. It's about how we deal with pain, discomfort, setbacks. It's really how we deal with that. Because I will guarantee you 100% you will have pain. And what a gift that is from God. But I can go on, that's a whole other subject.
It's interesting. You're bringing to mind another guest that I had, and I really like talking about him. His name is Arius Websterberry. Arius is a black man who both parents were incarcerated at the same time and was living with, I think, grandparents at the time. Mother got out, took 2 jobs, put food on the table, roof over their head. Told me that when he was growing up, he didn't have sports figures on his wall. He had CEOs of companies. Beautiful. And Arius is now what would we call him? A guru in the digital marketing space. And we talked about pain and the pain that he had been through.
Ooh.
And he said to me, I said, Arius, what's your perception on that? And he said, listen, when you go through pain in your life, what pain gives you is a wider bandwidth. That's the term he used, a greater bandwidth to deal with disappointment as you go down through life. I like to say bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. It's only because that's life. It's just, that's the way life is. It just shows up on your door one day and kicks your butt. It just says here, it just shows up, and you've got to be prepared to deal with these downturns in a way that says, again, the old story of it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it matters how many times you get up and how many times you can forge through these difficult times. I'm with you on authenticity and vulnerability as well, to be open and, in a sense, welcome and to admit your imperfections. So anything you want to come back with on that?
Yeah. There's so much. Ken, I love this conversation. A couple of things. I am based on strength. When I did a workshop with a guy named Marcus Buckingham, and it was called Strength Finders, and we were talking about strength. And I'd always been knowledgeable about strength because I've always been a study of military history. I've always said military history is like the most real thing in the world, in our society, because what you're playing for is your society, your kinfolk, your womenfolk. So people take it very seriously, warfare. And what we have realized over the centuries of warfare is that it is better to emphasize your strength than to be as concerned about your weaknesses on your flanks or whatever it may be in the battle line. And so when I work with the guys I work with, and for me, I emphasize my strengths. And I make sure my weaknesses don't impact me too much negatively, but I run with my strengths. So I'm a strength-based individual. And I found that to be very beneficial to me. And because the other thing is, as a business owner, as a CEO, or whatever you want to call it, I can hire for weakness. And I do. I've always told people, there's only two things in fundraising: content and delivery. I am very good in delivery. I can't write my way out of a wet paper bag, even though I'm all right, but I'm not good. And so I've hired people. Or now I have AI to do content. AI is phenomenal for content. And it's really good on delivery too. But anyway, going back to that gentleman, I truly resonate. And that's another part of what we do. One of the things that we want to do when we're transparent, one of the things that we want to do when we share truth is that we are also looking for confirmation. But how can we get confirmation unless we put it out there? Okay, this is the direction I want to go. What does the board think? And the board will give you feedback. I'm talking about the board of directors. I've been on a lot of boards. What do you guys think? And then there are people who agree. There are people that disagree. And I'm very much a person of consensus. I am a consensus type of leader. And unless I, from my experience, strength, and knowledge, have to make a decision from the level that's in opposition or different than the consensus, it's rare, but that's super rare. Okay, if that's because you guys are the ones that are going to implement it. You're the team leaders, you're the management. So anyway, I'm one of consensus. But anyway, I agree with that gentleman. And that's the beautiful thing, is when we do get that agreement, and sometimes I call it congruence, alignment on, because a lot of times we think in our head and we're like, does this make any sense? And that's why I'm also a big one on mentoring. And we call it coaching, workplace sponsorship, but predominantly mentoring. And that there's a line in the Bible that says, a man of many counselors is a wise man. It's in Proverbs. And it's a great analogy or a great example. A man of many counselors, a man, woman, a person of many counselors is a wise man. Because I'm taking an input, I'm going to disparate sources, but ones that I trust have my best purpose in mind. And then I run that by them and take that feedback. But in the end, I accept accountability. So if something goes wrong in the decision I make, and not every decision I've made has been worked out perfect. That's life.
Right.
But I don't blame, I got the advice from XYZ. In the end, I am 100% strong on this. It's my decision. Whether it's for my family, for my business, for my health, or whatever it may, I made that decision. I take accountability. And that's a big part of my self-esteem, is that I know, I made that, and I will accept the consequences. One last thing I'm going to say on this. When you're tempered by the fire of life, what it does, it right sizes you. I have on a scale of 1 to 100, where 100 is suicide. 1 is bliss, nirvana. I have been at 98 and 99. I've attempted suicide in the past, but I've been in so much emotional pain sometimes physical pain, but mainly emotional pain that I've been at 90 and 99. Since I've been sober for 20 years, I've lost a wife who died, passed away suddenly. I've lost others. I've lost financial. But I hate to say, they're like 60s or 70s. And in the last year, I probably haven't had anything reach a 30. You see what I'm saying? But I understand that. And so compared to the pain I've had in the past, this is piece of cake. But a lot of times we haven't experienced that profound, sublime discomfort. And then when it does come, we don't have the tools or the resources to absorb it, to take that setback and come back from it. Again, we talk about the resilience.
Yeah, I agree. 2 points. One is my personal concern over young people who've been raised with the helicopter parents, if you know, that they've never experienced any level of discomfort or never significant discomfort. Let me put it that way. So now they venture into the world and wow, I hope you're ready for it because it's going to come. It'll take time maybe, but it's going to come. And pain will visit you sharply on your doorstep at one point in your life. The second thing I'd like to say is, as a former naval officer who taught strategy and tactics, I appreciate the comments. Yeah, we worry about that all the time. We're concerned about it all the time. What is our strength? And how do we take our strength and apply it to the enemy's weakness? And how do we buffer our weaknesses in a way that they can't apply against us? And 1 minute you're defensive, the other minute you're offensive. So it's a very interesting dynamic that you have to live in. And you have to know what your capabilities are. You have to know what you're doing. You have to have a strategy. And then you have to have the people and the ability to do the tactics to carry out the strategy. So I really appreciate that. We are getting close to the end. I've really enjoyed this conversation immensely, by the way. It's been great. But we're getting close to the end. I want to ask you just one last question, and then you can take it where you want. In the world that you live in now, the things that you do in the AI, in not-for-profit, what is your particular hope for the future?
First of all, let me say this. I love AI. Why do you love AI, Jim? One of the reasons why I love AI does not care if you're a 3-time convicted felon. Yep.
That's exactly right.
It doesn't care if you're a Black man or an Asian female or ... It doesn't care. You have the same capabilities to use it effectively, no matter what your background is. And if anything, it doesn't care that you went to an Ivy League school. I could have a high school degree or not have a high school degree and use AI effectively. And if anything, it'll allow me who didn't get my GED to be effective if you have the training and the support from others. So I love AI for that reason. That's one of the many reasons I love AI. I love it. And the other thing is that in the end, what I truly care about, and anyone who knows me, is I truly care about you being the best you can be. And then if you are a provider, and I'm just saying this, I don't care, male, female, or you are a provider for others, you have the ability to support and provide for your loved ones. I'm really big on that. That's more on the human side. But again, we can use AI, and it's a tool. It's a tool to be more effective. Therefore, we can do more to free up time and provide financial support to our loved ones. I mean, that's taking it to another level, but yeah.
And you can live a much more robust in that sense as well. Mm-hmm. I have a colleague named Emily Davis. She's a phenomenal website builder. Mm-hmm. And she's in love with AI as well. And she has this great one line. She said, just remember, AI has no ego, but it's very eager. And that absolutely is right on the money with your comments. So I appreciate that very much. Ken, this has been an honor and a privilege. I really mean that. And I'm so glad we connected today for this podcast. I wish you, your family, and all your associates the greatest success in life in everything that you do. Great health to you as well and to them. And I can't thank you enough for being here with me today on the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Thank you.
I just want to say one more thing. Number one is to thank you. Number two is that I have a book coming out, my first book. We call it Becoming Ken, A Black Man's Journey from the Ivy Leagues to the Penitentiary and Back Again. That is being released May 19th. And I love to speak. And many times I speak for free. I just want to share a message of hope, resilience, and coming back from the setback. And thank you to platforms like this to allow me, 3-time convicted, 62-year-old Black man up in Bellingham, Washington, just to share a little bit of his truth. So again, thank you.
Thank you, man. God bless you. And send me the link and I will put it on the episode when I put it on LinkedIn and when I distribute it so that people can take a look at your book.
Awesome.
Thank you so very much again.